Okay, hello everybody who ever might be watching. My guest today is Marina Aris. Did I say that right?
Yes, you got it.
Okay, good. Founder of Brooklyn Writers Press, lovely name, and someone who's been saying for years that a book is the ultimate business card for someone in business, for an expert. Um, we're going to talk today about how a book actually changes who calls you, what makes it work, what makes it fail, and what someone should think about before they write a word to begin with. Welcome, Marina.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Excited to be here and talk about all the opportunities that there are for people who want to write in business.
Nice. Um, so you've been saying for a while that being a published author is an incredible business card. Was there a specific story or client outcome that made you say, okay, this is not just, a marketing line, this is actually real?
Actually, I have to tell you, it is a marketing line and it's not mine. It is a
Ah.
very commonly held belief that I do believe in, and I want to just give you a slant on that. Look, I think anyone who's been in business for any amount of time who has considered writing a book may have heard, "Hey, you should really write a book. It is the ultimate business card." And so the reason why I would agree with that is that if you think about a business card, how often do people keep them, right? Like very often you get them. Maybe some people used to, store them, but nowadays maybe you look at it, maybe you'll keep it, maybe you'll toss it. But a book is so tangible, right? So it tends to have staying power with whoever happens to have it in their possession. And that's only the beginning. That's just scratching the surface of why it can work. So, yes, it is the ultimate business card, but there is so much more to it than that.
Okay, so um let's see. Um Maybe I guess one question that comes to mind is why should someone in business write a book to begin with, right? Like what is the outcomes they should expect?
Well, okay, so why and the outcomes are two separate things. So if you want to talk about why, I would say there are a number of reasons. And one of the first reasons is because a book can help you leverage your expertise, whatever it is you're really good at. If you think about it, when someone reads a book, it's almost like they're in a private conversation with you, right? So, how wonderful is it and how effective is it for someone to pick up your book and read the way that you think and the things that you know, right? And so I think for business owners and nonfiction writers specifically, books are really about leverage, first and foremost, right? I also think that books are really effective for leads, right? Isn't it wonderful? Somebody reads a book and says, you know what, I'd love to work with this person. I like the way they think, I like their experience, and they're perfect for me and what I'm trying to do. So they're good for leads. And I also think this is a thing that most people do not talk about. But in a world where social media is so prominent and things disappear almost overnight sometimes, or they don't get the visibility, think about books. Where do they normally go, especially if they happen to be in print form? They go on a bookshelf, right? And so think about that. That's really about legacy. So without me realizing it, I kind of have my own philosophy around this, and it's the three L's: leads, leverage, and legacy. So right, if you have those things, it's for the rest of your life and beyond. You can leave this behind. And so those are some of my initial thoughts on perhaps why someone would want to consider becoming a published author if they are a business owner or a business
Okay.
professional.
Okay, leads, leverage, legacy. Okay, I'm very interested in personally in the first two, leads and leverage. Um, so okay, leads, that one, I can understand. What have you seen? Because if you write a book, it doesn't not necessarily mean that you automatically get more leads, right? So what does need to happen for a book to be successful in this way that it generates leads?
Well, I think it kind of goes back to thinking about a book. Now, so you obviously know what a book looks like. If you were to consider the world that we're living in today, books are published or produced in a very different way because the author is now a participant in the process. So if and just bear with me for a second. If the traditional model of publishing meant that you wrote a manuscript and then you submitted it to an agent and the agent went to the publisher and the publisher said, "Yes, for me, no, not for me." Done. That was the whole cycle. Today, I work in the hybrid publishing space, right? And that's between self-publishing and traditional. And what does that mean? It means that if someone comes to me and they say, "Marina, I am an expert in molecular biology." I don't know, whatever. Um, I would like to write a book and I want this book to help me get leads. And I would say to them, "Okay, wonderful. Um, First off, the manuscript is one piece, but guess what we can do with this book? Because we're working together, I could say to this author, I could say, "Do you have a specific website? Do you by chance want to teach in universities? Do you by chance have a course that you've built? Anything that leads or is connected to what you know." Because if that person says yes, guess what? What I could do is at the very front of this book, I can put in a page that says, if you picked up this book and you're interested in this topic, you may also be interested in this X, Y, and Z. And you can, and obviously you design it in a way that's attractive and interesting, right? And compelling. But I'll give you, that's just one example. Think about it. You just open the first few pages of a book, and right there's your first lead opportunity, right? So that's
Mm.
a pretty strong, and it's very subtle. It's not a hard sell. And it's effective because, hey, you picked up the book, you like the person, and there it is. Now that's one thing, but the other thing that I want you to think about when it's about leads. Consider every industry, every business professional. What's one of the things that they budget for? It's marketing, right? Whether they decide to spend money on Google ads or social media posts, ads, or whatever it is that they decide to invest money in, the production of a book is an investment. There's no way around that. Okay. It costs money to produce a book. But I would argue that producing a book that is well made, right, to standard, like I would do, for instance, and you put in all of these little breadcrumbs that lead to other things that are connected to the expertise of the individual, right? That's a two smart punch there, right? You've got a great opportunity, making that book be and that leads into leverage, right? You use the book as leverage in that sense, as effective marketing. So those are
Okay,
just two examples. There's so many more. Those are just two examples to give you some sense for how the book could be more than a business card, right?
right. Okay, that leads us into leverage. I am less certain what you mean. I would love to, what do you mean with leverage?
Well, I did kind of start to touch on it, right? It's leverage means that anytime you have one really effective asset that you can then use it for something else, right? So, like in my example, perhaps a better example might be a finance professional, right? You know, you they, if you read a finance professional's book, they might have a certain philosophy around investing, and the way that they can leverage their expertise and their philosophy is, again, if they're going to use a book, is in that book they could say, they can offer the reader a consultation, they can offer the reader a free course, they can, whatever it is, you're leveraging the expertise first, right? And then you're leveraging, and you have to be good at what you do. This is really important, right? You want to be good at what you do. And and the other thing I want, just the last most important thing that I want to mention about leverage, there are thousands upon thousands of professionals in every single industry. But when someone chooses to work with someone, it's because there's like a match, right? There's like a click, there's something. So think about it. A book, if it is well written by someone who knows their stuff and someone connects to that person's voice, to the way that they think, like I was mentioning earlier, that's leveraging, again, the expertise into something greater, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Okay. Um, so the next question I have written down is kind of, what do successful books have in common? Successful business books, uh, for generating, let's say, particularly these two, leads and leverage, mainly. Um, if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, a book needs to be well written, although some people who are business professionals are not necessarily writers. And I know a lot of business professionals come to me and say, I would love to have a book, but I'm not a writer, right? So I would say that one of the things that you want to ensure is that the writing is solid. And there is a hack for business professionals who are not writers. And the hack is simply this: if you are a business professional who wants to write a book and you say, I am absolutely not a writer, this is what I recommend you do. You take your phone or whatever dictation app you want. You figure out what your topics are per chapter and you interview yourself, or you have someone else interview you. And all you do is you dictate. Why would that work? And I think I would argue it might even work better than hiring and paying tens of thousands of dollars to a ghostwriter. The reason why it works is because, number one, you speak much faster than you write. Every human does. Number two, the best books are written in a way that are conversational, right? Because the reader is alone with you and your books and your pages, right? So you want it to feel like a conversation. And what better way to make it feel authentic and conversational than to speak, right? And
Mm,
so what that does, it produces a manuscript very quickly that is in the author's voice or the business professional's voice. And all it needs at that point in time is a professional edit, which is fine. We clean it up, we fix it, we make it publish ready, and off it goes. And I mentioned that first because that is the first reason why business professionals may not write, but they need to know that it's obviously important. And that's how you get around the I'm not a writer, but I need good writing in the book. And the second thing that's really important about not only a business professional's book, but any book. This is why I'm in the business that I'm in. I love books and I want to produce books that are as good or better than anything a traditional house would put out. So I put in a lot of effort. The cover design has to be excellent, formatting, editing, interior layout, everything matters. Every decision you make, the blurbs that you put on the cover, if you can get them, are effective. A forward, if you can get it, is effective. Resources, if you have them, are effective. So, all of these things, you need someone who knows how to package it because it is, at the end of the day, let's not forget, a book is a product. And the most effective products are well made, right? To standard.
right. On the other hand, some books fail, right, to achieve these goals. Why do you think? Obviously, you can say the opposite is because they are not well written. They are not. Is there anything else you would mention besides what you just did?
Why do books fail? I think we all know that you need to tell people about the book, but do it in a way that's not, a nuisance. And so
Uh,
this is where it gets very tricky, right? Because, I'm in the middle of, I have beta tested this. Let me back up. I have beta tested this with authors one on one. And what I have found is that the reason why people write books and then maybe they go on social media and they don't make sales is because they don't understand that getting the sale is about connecting with the right prospect or the right reader, right? And if you and I agree that a successful sale of anything, whether it's a book or a service or a product, right? If it happens because the connection is effective, then how do you do it, right? And so a lot of people are very confused right now about what it takes to effectively sell a book. They think that they have to be on multiple social media platforms. They think that they have to have hundreds of thousands of followers. They think all of these things that are not really true. What's really true is that you need to show up as the professional that you are and talk about your book to people like if you have a podcast interview. I'm so grateful to be talking to you today, Christian. Like when you find when you find ways to be out there and not to say, "Hey, buy my book," but to say, "I wrote this thing because I want to help people do X or Y," whatever it is. Or I wrote this thing because I've devoted my life to X and Y and this is what I've learned. Right? So when we take a step back and we start to talk about our books or whatever it is that we create in that from that perspective, people start to connect and people say, "Oh yeah, that's for me." Oh no, I don't get that person. I don't like their philosophy. I don't like their ideas. I don't like anything about them. And that's okay. That's okay because you want that hard yes or no. In sales, you don't want maybe, right? You don't want gray. You want the right people to connect with you. So I think it's all about people, regardless of industry or book topic. It doesn't matter. You got to take a step back and really start thinking about that human connection, and to not worry about AI or technology because we're still all living, breathing, eating, driving, walking, moving in a very real world environment, right? So anyway, that's my perspective, and that's a perspective that I would argue is not very common, so I don't know. That's
Okay.
I'm maybe a contrarian on that one.
No, it's very. I mean, that's a lot of marketing, right? It's how you have the book, how you kind of choose to spread the word about it, um, or position yourself in relation to your readers. Um, do you have any? I have a couple of other questions that are more related to the before the writing the book. How should someone decide if writing a book is for them, uh, or something they need to get right before starting to write? So I'm going to change gears in that direction. Did you want to speak about anything, or should we dive into this
I
pre-book
mean,
writing?
yeah, I can give you an example, I suppose, a real world example as it happens. Last night I had dinner with one of my authors. His name is Scott Skirm. He is absolutely very, very talented in his space, and his space is a very niche. It's the repo market in finance. So unless you're really into investing, you don't know what I'm talking about. But I will tell you that he is the guy for that particular market. So if he tweets something, the book just starts selling. It's just really amazing. But in any case, so last night we're talking, and the reason I bring him up is because last night we were talking, and he says, "Marina, I have got books 2 and 3. I know exactly what I wanna write. I know how
Uh,
long it's gonna take me." And he already said to me, he goes, "So, I don't have it written, but I have ideas, I have a sense." He goes, "I've got folders, and I keep dumping stuff into each folder." Now, this is his process right now, right? And he said to me, he says that last book that we published, which was, I mean, it's doing so well. I'm so proud of this book. Um, he
what is
said it
it?
took
Give it a
me,
shout.
oh, the repo market, shortages, and squeezes. So that book is doing remarkably well. And the way that he told me last night, he said it took me 2 years because I just had all these scattered things. I had, tables and whatever. He goes, but now this year, he goes, these next two books are going to go much faster. I have a sense for how it's going to go. In essence, but it takes time and it depends on the writer. Now, that being said, remember a couple of things. Number one, how you write the book will be determined by number one, are you a writer or are you not a writer, right? Because that dictates the time and the way that you do it. So, if you're a writer, you can write a book literally in a weekend if you wanted to, a week, a month, a year. It's all up to you. So, in terms of time, it really depends on the person and why they want to write the book and how soon they want to see it in marketplace. I will tell you, if I work with someone who brings me a finished manuscript, they can be published in about 12 weeks, which is very fast. Very, very fast when you consider the traditional model is almost 3 years. So, again, it has to be, solid. I'm not publishing garbage, I have to edit it and make sure it's good, but if it's good, we can go to market in 12 weeks. It's very fast. And if someone were to say to me, "Listen, Marina, I want to increase my leads by X amount. I want to make sales by this date. I want to increase my profits," whatever it is, I don't know what their goal is, then the time is a really key component to that. So it's like either you get on the 1 weekend, 1 month, 3 weeks, whatever it's gonna be, program to get that manuscript finished, or you take your time like my friend, the Scott Skirm, who's doing phenomenal. He's like, "I'm just dumping it into folders. I'll bring it to you when it's ready." I'm like, "All right, that's what we'll do." But he's gonna have the trilogy. He's so excited because these books go together. Yeah.
Nice. He sounds like a prodigy, eh?
Oh, he's wonderful. He's not a writer, I have to say. He is not a writer. He is just very good at what he does. He's the repo guy. And
Yeah.
I think that was his Twitter handle, if I'm not mistaken.
The
The
repo
repo
guy.
guy. I
Shout
think so.
out.
Yeah, yeah.
um, okay. Very good. Do you want to offer any last advice for someone thinking about writing a business book?
Yes, I think if you have, like I was trying to get at, a specific goal that you think it makes sense. Obviously, I don't think everybody should do it unless they really see that there's a reason for it. I would say that if you have a reason, meaning you, like I was mentioning, you want to increase your authority, your expertise, whatever it is, scale your business, then do it. But I know you didn't want to talk about legacy, but I do want to just make one last short I just want to say for all of us who have a limited time on this planet, I do think there is something to be said about the fact that a book is not like a social media post, right? It has a long lasting legacy, not only for the people you work with, but even for your families. Think about that, your children, your grandchildren. And maybe that's a bit hokey or idealistic, but I love books so much and I believe so much in the power of words and what they can do that I don't want to leave this podcast today without saying that maybe, when you're done working at the end of your life, at some point when you want to retire, having that book out there as your legacy for the work that you did, that you believed in, and that you were good at, I do think there's something to be said about how a book can meet that particular angle. I just think it's a beautiful thing to leave behind. But that's what I would say. And as far as advice, if you have a good reason and you really believe it's going to help you, leave your mark in an industry or be a thought leader, people say that nowadays, and you want to
Yeah.
be a thought leader, then that's one of the first ways to do it.
Yeah. Very true. And beautiful, the legacy aspect, of course.
Thank you.
Good, Marina. Well, tell our listeners what you do at Brooklyn Writers Press and where they could reach you.
Sure, sure. The Brooklyn Writers Press is a hybrid publishing company. As I mentioned, it is basically if I were an attorney, you would pay me to help you win a case, or if I was a finance professional, you'd pay me to manage your portfolio. But as a hybrid publishing book publishing strategist, what I do is I get those books well made to standard so that you're proud of them and they're professionally done and they give you a good presence. And I make them and I bring them to market pretty darn fast. So that is kind of what I do. And I will say, last place people can find me is the Book Biz Insider podcast. And also Book Biz Hub, which is a community which will share all of the A to Z, the concept to the publishing to the marketing and distribution of books. So all the book stuff, that's kind of where I live.
Lovely. Thanks again, Marina. See
Thank you
you.
so much, Christian.
Hope
I'll
to
see
see you
you
again,
soon.
either on my podcast, on your podcast. We'll
Definitely. You have to come. Yes, absolutely.
Good. Okay, I'm closing this now.